She walked into the boardroom expecting a simple announcement. Years of dedication, countless sacrifices. It was supposed to be her moment. But the words that left her boss's lips shattered everything. Congratulations. Not to you, but to Susan. The room seemed to tilt, her stomach dropped, and the world felt suddenly colder. Why her? Why now? What invisible forces decide who rises and who is ignored? This isn't just about a promotion. It's about a system built on unseen prejudice, the kind that crushes dreams before anyone notices. Stay with me, because what happens next will shock you. Maria had built her life around consistency. Every morning, she slipped into the same crisp blouse, brewed her coffee just the way she liked it, and settled at her desk, ready to tackle the day. 5 years of late nights, meticulous reports, and unacknowledged effort had earned her respect. Or, at least she hoped it had. Her coworkers smiled politely, her boss nodded in approval, but whispers sometimes followed her in the hallways, subtle glances hinting at unspoken rules. Maria didn't yet realize that the next big announcement wouldn't just shock her, it would expose the hidden bias woven into the very system she had trusted. Her world was about to tilt, and nothing would ever feel normal again. Maria had always believed that hard work and integrity were enough. But as she sat in the boardroom that morning, her heart raced and her palms sweated. The air was thick with anticipation. Everyone knew something important was about to happen. Her boss, towering and composed, began the announcement with a forced smile, eyes flicking over the gathered employees. "Congratulations." "Not to Maria, but to Susan," he said, his voice smooth yet icy. The words landed like a hammer, echoing in the room and reverberating in Maria's chest. She wanted to speak, to challenge it, but the room seemed to close in around her. Susan beamed, oblivious to the storm she had been placed in the center of, while Maria's stomach twisted with disbelief and simmering rage. The following weeks were worse. Every idea Maria presented was subtly undermined, every suggestion met, with delayed responses or polite nods that carried no weight. Meanwhile, Susan's projects, some less developed and less deserving, were celebrated publicly. Maria could feel the discrimination creeping into every corner of the office, in glances, in tones, and in the way decisions were made behind closed doors. It was invisible, yet undeniable. Every slight, every overlooked contribution spoke volumes. One afternoon, a casual lunch meeting became the breaking point. A colleague presented Maria's work as their own, laughing as her name wasn't mentioned once. The humiliation was sharp, immediate, and suffocating. Maria clenched her fists under the table, fury battling the part of her that feared rocking, the boat. Was this a system she could ever overcome, or was it built to keep people like her in her place? Tension built daily like a pressure cooker. Every interaction, every decision felt like a test of endurance. Maria began noticing patterns, emails ignored, promotions quietly redirected, performance reviews skewed. The subtle racism, the unspoken favoritism, and the silent rules of advancement made her question not only the company, but the system itself. And just when she thought she might have a chance to rise, she stumbled across an internal memo, hinting at decisions being made specifically to keep her from succeeding. The revelation left her reeling. For the first time, Maria realized this wasn't about competence, effort, or loyalty. It was about control, bias, and injustice running deeper than she could have imagined. And now, faced with that knowledge, she had a choice: fight back, risk everything, or remain silent and watch as the system crushed dreams, hers included. Maria stormed into the glass-walled office, every step fueled by months of frustration and quiet fury. The room was eerily still, the city skyline glaring down like a silent jury. Her boss sat there, composed, too calm for the storm about to hit. "You've been thorough," he said, a faint smirk crossing his face. "But some things just aren't meant for you." The words slammed into her like a physical blow. Years of dedication, sleepless nights, and brilliant work, all dismissed without explanation. Maria's voice trembled as she tried to protest, but it felt like shouting. Underwater, the subtle racism, the invisible hierarchy, the constant undermining, all of it came crashing down at once. Hours later, she watched from her desk as her biggest project, the one she had poured her heart into, was handed to Susan. The room erupted. In applause, congratulatory smiles plastered on faces that hadn't seen her struggle, her sacrifice. Maria's chest burned with anger, but in that moment of despair, clarity struck. She would not be erased. Not by prejudice, not by favoritism, not by a system designed to silence her. Her mind raced, plotting her next move. The injustice was raw, but so was her resolve. The storm inside her wasn't just rage. It was a fire demanding action, a refusal to let this story end quietly. The office, the board, the hierarchy, they had underestimated her. They didn't see the woman who had been invisible, the one who was now ready to make them all reckon with the truth. And as she clenched her fists and took a deep breath, one thought pierced through everything. How far would she have to go to be seen? And would the system ever let her rise? Maria emerged from the storm stronger, her resolve sharper than ever. She confronted the office hierarchy with proof, with confidence, with a refusal to be silenced. Some doors opened reluctantly, others remained shut, but Maria's voice could no longer be ignored. In that act of courage, she discovered something vital. Standing up against systemic bias is never easy, but it is necessary. The impact extended beyond her own career. Colleagues who had once stayed quiet began sharing their stories, small murmurs, of dissent growing into conversations impossible to ignore. The invisible walls that had confined her began to show cracks, and the office, once a place of quiet suppression, was forced to reckon with uncomfortable truths. Maria had become more than an employee. She had become a symbol of resilience, a reminder that injustice only survives when people stay silent. Her story is a mirror to countless others around the world, moments of bias, prejudice, and subtle discrimination that accumulate until they shape entire lives. Maria's journey proves that awareness, courage, and speaking out can spark change, even in the most entrenched systems. And as the camera would pull back, showing her standing tall amidst the glass towers of the city, the question hangs in the air. If one person's voice can shake the foundation of injustice, what might happen when all of us choose to speak?